My near-death experience was in childhood. We were going to a funeral, and on the way back, my mom fell asleep at the wheel. We were in a Ford Aerostar minivan. The only people buckled in were my mom and dad. My sisters and I were all sleeping in the back, and to my knowledge, we went from one side of the freeway to the other side of the freeway, rolling maybe between 9 and 12 times. I'm not sure if anyone counted, but it was a lot. So every time we rolled, my mom would hit her head on the dash or on the wheel, and so she had a pretty significant head injury. Somehow we all ended up out of the vehicle, my sisters and I, and in between flying out of the vehicle and landing somewhere, I went somewhere else completely. It was a really dark area. I call it the in-between because I don't have really any reference to it from anyone else's perspective. I haven't really done a whole lot of research either, but it was dark, and I felt other beings there. They didn't necessarily have a masculine or a feminine presence. It was just another being, and they were asking me if I wanted to go back. But there were other beings, like I said, one particular that was kind of hovering over this. It looked like a crystal ball for all intents and purposes, but when I looked down onto it, it was showing everything that was happening on the ground. My family, people running around frantically. It was like it was slowed down. There was no time where we were, but it was in slow motion. Whatever was going on down in Earth, like I was looking down on Earth, it was slowed down. So it all felt like a dream. As far as I knew, I was still sleeping. I didn't feel cold, I didn't feel hot. I felt curious. And it's strange, I don't, because there aren't human words for it, but the feeling that I got was that the video game was on pause, and that I was going to talk to the people creating the video game and kind of just clarifying what was going on and where I could go moving forward. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't stressed out at all. It was very telepathic. There were I was not in my body, so there really wasn't any use for my body. So it was all very much, like a video game. I felt like, because of my connection to my mother, that I needed to go back. Like, I didn't want her to feel guilty, because I knew that if I didn't go back, that she would never forgive herself, and that it was her opportunity to, because each soul has an agreement when they come into a life to accomplish certain things or heal certain aspects of themselves. I felt like it would be blocking that for her. So I agreed to come back. I did want validation as far as what I saw when I was in the in-between. And I talked to my father about it, and I asked him, well, where the vehicle was placed and what the landscape looked like, and where my sisters were located as far as when he exited the vehicle. And he validated me. He said, yes, it's exactly where the vehicle was. Yes, your mom was sitting in the middle of the field. Yes, you were found in a blackberry bush adjacent. I know I only had like 2 or 3 scratches on my abdomen. And it's a miracle. There's nothing wrong with me. But they did take me in for an MRI just in case. And I was in the ambulance with my mom, who was frantic and covered in blood. And I told her about the in-between space. And the EMTs were kind of looking at me like, And my mom was like, oh, she's just very imaginative. Because back then, no one wanted to talk about those things because it could put you in a padded room. When I started to recall what happened during the NDE and talk to my family about it, and they said, you're just so imaginative, Sharon. You know, just short of it's all in your head, because they couldn't really explain it either. But for an NDE to happen in childhood, it can mess with the psyche of just about anyone that's had anything like that happen at an early age. Because there's no reference, and really all the reference we have is Disney, or, you know, magic comes from Disney. That's what we all a lot of us anyway, grew up understanding, is that it's not real. But if in fact it's not real, and it's come from the imagination of others who have created it and put it on screen for us, then where did it come from? I didn't really start looking for others that had NDE until after my spiritual awakening in 2016. The culmination of the NDE and all of these other experiences that I've had have just solidified a sense of purpose